So, Kofi Annan, it's wonderful to have you here with us at the Salzburg Global Seminar. You've chosen to come for a conference on the idea of a green revolution in Africa, and that's something you've devoted quite a lot of your time to since you stepped down from the United Nations.
That's correct.
Why is that such a high priority for you?
It is a high priority because, as you will recall, the issue of hunger, alleviating or eliminating hunger, is one of the Millennium Development Goals. Today, 200 million people in Africa are chronically malnourished, and I think it is about time we do something about it. I think it is about time Africa assured itself, assured its own food security, and they cannot continue to live on food aid or, in some situations, imported food when they have the capacity to grow their own.
But it's not exactly a new idea, is it? I mean, there's been the Green Revolution in Asia, which was 20 or 30 years ago now. People have tried to reproduce this in Africa before, and it hasn't worked. Why is it different this time?
First of all, I think in the past, I'm not sure it was a sustained effort. I mean, attempts have been made to improve seeds. Organizations like Rockefeller Foundation has put in lots of investment. But I think this is the first time one is trying to look at it on a systematic basis across the continent. And I think given what is happening in the world and the food shortage and the high food prices of today's world, I think the message has been driven home and people realize something needs to be done. My concern is for us to make sure that we don't focus on the emergency of feeding those who don't have food today and forget that we need to sustain the effort to ensure that in 5 years or so, Africa would have doubled or tripled its food production. And it's in the same situation as India or some of the Latin American countries.
Of course, the majority of poor people in Africa are still rural people, and many of them engaged in agriculture. So do you think that the higher food prices may actually be a blessing for them?
If the laws of supply and demand were to work effectively, yes, and if we had an open trading system, and they were able, but I think over the medium to longer term, it will be a blessing for them. But for the moment, because of the high food prices, they're going to get less food aid, as the World Food Programme has made clear. They can't afford to import food at these high prices. So in the short term, it's a real problem. But in the longer term, I think it's an opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Is there a message here for the governments and people of the North, of the rich world?
I think they should, first of all, help Africa strengthen its agriculture. They should not only give them food aid, but really teach them how to cultivate and harvest and work with them on that basis. The other thing I would suggest is that there should be a fair trading system, and we need to look at the subsidies that European and American farmers get, which often places the African farmer at a great disadvantage. Already, they are really living on the edge. The production of African farmer per hectare is a quarter of the world's average. And how do they then compete with all these rich farmers who, on top of it, get these huge subsidies?
Although if you remove the subsidies now, presumably that would push food prices even higher.
Well, it depends on how you do it. There are a couple of other factors. I mean, in Europe today, farmers are paid not to plant on certain parts of their land. There's a debate going on now if these restrictions should not be lifted, given the market situation as it is now. You have a similar situation in the US, and of course this obviously will have to be done over time. You don't want the market to collapse and discourage farmers, which will then repeat the shortages we have today. So it has to be moderated and done over a period.
And what do you see as the specific value that this conference in Salzburg and the initiative that we are taking can add?
No, first of all, let me thank you, Edward, and Salzburg for really arranging this seminar. you brought together lots of people from Africa and around the world who are interested in improving African agriculture to exchange ideas and to network. Some of the people who are here know each other. Others are discovering colleagues that they have not met before. But this sort of gathering, which brings scientists from all over to discuss what needs to be done, is what Africa needs. We need to, first of all, train more scientists. We need to get the scientists to focus on what is required for an African green revolution. And I think you've made a real contribution in the last few days by bringing this group here. And I've seen the energy and the enthusiasm with which they have tackled the issue.
Well, thank you very much, and we certainly hope to be able to build on that, and we would like to be able to contribute to Africa's development. So thank you very much for coming here and joining us, and we hope maybe we'll see you here again before too long.
You have, and I'm sure you'll continue to help. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.